If you've ever wondered how your mind shapes your world, you're in the right place. The nature of personal reality. Today, we are undertaking a truly radical deep dive. We're looking at source material that really challenges some basic assumptions about existence itself. Stuff focused on consciousness, belief, and, the fundamental question of whether the physical world is fixed or if it's something you actively design, moment by moment. And these sources, they aren't just talking about, like, the power of positive thinking. Not really. They're suggesting reality itself is negotiable. So we're here to try and break down some pretty complex arguments, ideas about the self, the universe, and how they're linked, apparently through your core beliefs, what the text called command beliefs.
That's exactly right. Our mission today is to take these claims, which are quite detailed, and really analyze the central argument, which is that conscious belief. It isn't just a thought or an opinion floating around in your head. It acts as a powerful directive filter. That's the key concept. And this filter, the sources argue, selects and directs non-physical potential occurrences. They call them probable events. And it actively pulls them into your daily, measurable, physical reality. It completely flips the standard scientific view, doesn't it? Cause and effect.
Okay, yeah, it does. Let's unpack this from the ground up then. The sources establish this foundational relationship. They say the physical brain is basically the substance copy of the mind, or the soul. So the hardware, the brain, it's secondary to the non-physical consciousness driving it.
Precisely. The brain functions more like a complex switching mechanism. It lets the vast potential of the soul, the intellect, interface with the body. But the real engine, the thing selecting what actually happens, that's your conscious belief. The text describes this belief as the filtering and directing original power. And this power, it's constantly working, selecting specific potential events from other possible timelines maybe, and making them actualized experiences in this reality. So if your conscious mind holds a deep, unwavering belief that something is possible for you, you essentially tune into that probability. You make it manifest. And conversely, if your self-image limits you, if you deeply believe something is impossible for you, that belief acts as this huge self-imposed boundary. It literally restricts the pool of events you can select, even though infinite possibilities might be out there.
Right. But okay, here's the big question, the one I'm sure you listening are asking too. If belief is the commander, what about hard facts, physical reality, gravity? If I believe I can fly, I still hit the ground, right? The source claims the body's physical structure follows beliefs. How do they even begin to defend that? It sounds extreme.
Yeah, it does sound extreme, and they tackle it head on. They use a really powerful analogy, hypnosis. The source points out that hypnosis demonstrates pretty clearly, doesn't it, that sensory experience can be subservient to expectation and belief. Think about it. If a subject is deeply convinced under hypnosis that they're touching ice, they'll often show the physiological responses of cold, shivering, maybe changes in skin temperature, even if they're just touching something neutral like room temperature would.
Yeah, I've heard of that. They might sweat if told it's hot or shiver if told it's cold. Their body reacts completely to the belief, not the actual physical stimulus.
Exactly. And the source argues that hypnosis is just a very focused, temporary exercise in changing belief. The fact that the physical body and our sensory data faithfully reflect that directing belief, even when it contradicts external reality, that's presented as proof that the physical structure is the servant. It follows orders. It's not the master dictating terms.
Okay, that opens a door, doesn't it? If our internal beliefs are that potent, then we can't just be one static self, which leads us to the next concept, right? This idea of a multidimensional self, what the texts call our probable selves.
Right. If you zoom out, look at the bigger picture. The you that's currently experiencing this, listening right now. That's only one potential state of your total existence, just one version. The world seems singular and consistent, mainly because your body's sensory input is constantly reflecting the command beliefs of your current experienced self. But because you're always making choices, revising your self-concept, maybe even subtly, the world subtly changes along with you. And here's where it gets really interesting in terms of daily life. The sources talk about something they call the failure or invalid state. You know that feeling? Dissociation, where consciousness seems to pull back a bit. You end up just going through the motions, mechanical, habit-driven activity. Your senses feel kind of dulled.
Oh, yeah, I know that feeling, like you're on autopilot,
Yeah.
just grabbing coffee, staring into space. So you're saying that state, that's actually when the system might be, like installing updates? Is that the idea?
In a way, yes. That fuzzy, checked-out state often signals a period of deep and maybe necessary unconscious activity. It could be when new potential characteristics, maybe new abilities from your other probable selves are sort of waiting in the wings. waiting for the opportunity to emerge, as the text says. The subconscious is doing profound integration work, while the conscious mind takes a vital break from that constant filtering and directing.
That's fascinating. So, okay, if our beliefs and potentials are constantly being filtered, integrated,
Yeah.
sometimes offline, how do those probable events, those potentials, actually enter our solid physical reality? Where does this potential physically connect with us?
The source links it directly to the nervous system, right?
Yeah.
And the intensity of conscious will. Exactly. And this is where the analysis of time and neurology gets really, really radical, mind-bending stuff. The feeling we have of a conscious I, the sense of self, it's not seen as a single fixed entity. It's actually the result of these probable identities constantly surfacing one after another very rapidly. And the continuity we feel, that sense of being the same person moment to moment, that's given by the rhythmic intervals and reactions of the body's nervous system. It smooths it out.
So the idea of a single continuous self is maybe a neurological convenience, a useful illusion.
Yeah. Essentially, yes. The physical brain provides a very limited, highly concentrated focus, which is essential for navigating physical reality, for survival. And this narrow focus creates the illusion of a single, centralized now. The nerve patterns are what solidify this concentrated present moment. And get this, here's a concept that really stretches the brain. The source claims that future events, they exist now, already, but they're too rapid for our current setup. They're moving too fast, essentially skipping over our nerve endings before we can consciously capture or perceive them. They exist, but outside our narrow perception window.
Wow. Okay, future events are too fast. So what about the past? That's equally weird in this model, isn't it? This claim that the past is still happening. That just flies in the face of common sense. What could they possibly mean by that?
Well, they explain it through this idea of synaptic drag. Think of it like ripples. Past events aren't just erased or stored away like old files. Their influence, their energy continues across the synapses. So even though the event isn't being physically recorded by your senses as a present event anymore, the physical structure, the cells of your body, they actually recorded the entire event, including parts that maybe slipped past your conscious awareness at the time. The past hasn't vanished, you've just shifted your focus away from that particular dimension of its ongoing activity.
Okay. That completely changes the game for the present moment, doesn't it? If the past isn't fixed, if it's still sort of active, what power does a strong belief right now have over what we usually think of as unchangeable history?
This is the absolute crux of it, the present belief, the intensity of your focused will in this moment. It's described as the pivot, the absolute pivot point, a strong, sudden belief, or maybe a deep, conscious desire in the now. It can initiate what they literally call a reversal of time, but at the cellular, maybe even genetic level, this present moment is the ultimate control point. It can reach backward.
Okay, let's make this concrete. The source gives examples,
Yeah.
right? This is where it becomes potentially life-changing for you listening. How does this cellular rewriting actually look? How does it manifest?
Right, let's take spontaneous healing. You know, those cases of rapid, often medically inexplicable remission from serious diseases like cancer. The source argues that this kind of healing is achieved when the conscious mind, through intense belief or will, inserts entirely new memories or information into the deep biological structure. This new memory, driven by overwhelming present belief, maybe a belief in perfect health, changes the cell's memory, or the gene code, or the nerve patterns. It effectively erases the condition, not just now, but retroactively.
So it's not just that the cells are recovering. It's like the cells are being fundamentally told, actually, the sickness never happened to this version of you. Is that it?
Precisely. The original physical trauma or weakness is overwritten in the biological history associated with that present self. And maybe that's why the change can seem instantaneous and often complete. There's nothing to recover from in that new cellular past. And the same principle, they argue, applies to acquiring skills and abilities, which is maybe even more empowering for everyday life. Imagine you develop this fierce, absolute belief in a new skill. Let's say you decide, I'm a great musician or I'm a talented artist, even if you've never had a lesson. That powerful present belief can initiate a kind of rewind. It reprograms the biological structure, inserting the necessary foundational experience, the muscle memory, the neural pathways, inserting it into the cellular memory, so that the ability manifests now in the present. The hands and mind behave as if they've always had that skill. This could explain things like highly accelerated learning or sudden bursts of previously unknown talent seen in certain states of focused awareness or inspiration.
That's immense. The implications are huge.
Yeah.
So the takeaway is, the present isn't just the result of the past. It's the point of maximal focus, action, and strength. And through your will, your belief now, you are forming both the future and reshaping the past. You're absolutely not a prisoner of some unchangeable history or genetic destiny.
Exactly. And Realizing that can be profoundly liberating, can't it? Especially when so much around us seems to emphasize determinism, limitations. And this is why the exploration keeps reminding us that consciousness, personality, they aren't limited, fixed things. Even the apparent solidity of events or objects like the table you might be sitting at, it's seen as just an agreement, a consensus reality. And that solidity breaks down at other levels of observation, just like physics tells us.
So if we accept this mechanism, even tentatively,
Yeah,
how do we use this knowledge practically? It's one thing to grasp it intellectual, another to actually apply it. We need to right. The source strongly encourages focusing on abilities you currently think of as maybe secondary or just potential, things you wish you could do.
yes. And the method described requires persistence. Persistence driven by imagination and will. By continuously applying present, focused beliefs, visualizing, feeling, knowing you possess that skill or quality, you are essentially teaching your nervous system new tricks, as the text puts it. These concentrated beliefs literally reach back into the past, into your probable selves, and cause a definite reorganization of your biological history, your neural pathways. And this allows you to act in completely new, previously inaccessible ways right now. Not someday, but now.
And doing this practice,
Yes.
it deepens our life. Right. By pulling in the richness of possibility, it's about merging those other probable selves, those latent potentials, into your current waking experience.
That's the idea. And the source is very clear. The ultimate goal here isn't about escaping physical reality or transcending it. Not at all. It's about enhancing it, enriching it. These explorations should ideally increase your enjoyment of physical life, allow you to fully explore the amazing range of sensory and mental expressions your current body and consciousness offer. You're here, in this form, to perceive and express unique life experiences. Make the most of that palette.
Okay, let's try and pull the main threads together then. The core takeaways seem to be: 1. Reality is fundamentally a conscious choice, relentlessly filtered and shaped by your deepest beliefs. 2. Time isn't a fixed line. The past and future seem to simultaneously exist and influence the present moment. They're fluid. And 3, the present moment right now is the absolute ultimate control point. It's where you have the power to reprogram your cellular and even your historical self.
Absolutely. And perhaps the most unifying and definitely provocative final thought that builds on all this multidimensional nature, is the idea of universal interconnectedness. It's woven throughout the material. The source emphasizes constant vital communication between everything. The smallest particles, spider webs, the vastness of stars, individual humans, maybe even larger non-physical entities. Every single belief you hold, every action you take, no matter how insignificant it might seem to you, it affects the entire universal network.
Oh,
Because you are constantly weaving a portion of reality that others then interact with, respond to, maybe even leap out from into their own probable paths. It's all connected.
wow. That is a stunning thought to end on. Everything affecting everything else based on belief and action. So knowing your present belief has this incredible power, maybe even the power to retroactively install the experience you need. What potential ability, what quality, what new trick will you choose to start making real for yourself today? Go ahead, start practicing, see what happens.